When you're in your comfort zone, add challenge. When you're in your anxiety zone, add comfort. When you're overwhelmed, when you're anxious, when you don't know how you're going to do the next day, you got to take it easy. But when you feel like, this is easy, I could do this, it's time to add challenge.
This is the thing. Do your life map. Where are you investing your time, your energy, and your money when you're outside of work? Because a lot of us, what we do is we work so hard at service, and I know many of you do. And then when we get home, we just autopilot.
So today we're going to talk about how to keep your cup filled. Okay. Right now, obviously, we're in the tail end of the pandemic, but there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of overwhelm and anxiety. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk predominantly about what to do outside of work. Okay. Because Next Level University is our brand, but it's all about helping people get to the next level of their lives. And a lot of that is self-care, habits, consistency, productivity, that sort of stuff. So before we get going, we're just going to do a little bit of an introduction. Anytime we talk about filling your cup and mental health and that sort of thing, that's very near and dear to my heart. So when I was 26, I was traveling up and down the East Coast of the United States, working in construction, and I didn't have a college degree. I didn't have any special skills, but I guaranteed that I would make a lot of money because I worked hard. Okay. I wanted to make six figures at the age of 26 with no college degree before any of my friends. Now, I ended up doing that, but I was miserable doing it. I was burning the candle on both ends. I was super insecure. I didn't have any fulfillment. I didn't have any joy. My relationships were toxic. I didn't have any really good habits. I would just kind of sit around and veg out on the weekends, right? And I started a podcast. And this job took me away from what I loved. I loved podcasting. I loved speaking. I loved helping people, especially with mental health. And my story has this, I always say that some people hit rock bottom and other people find out that rock bottom has a basement. My rock bottom basement moment, I was sitting on the edge of a hotel bed in New Jersey, lacing up my work boots. And I had done this hundreds of times before. It was a cold winter morning, probably 5:45. And the best way to explain it is there was just 10 televisions on in my head at the same time, and every single one was saying something different. One was saying, you're stuck here. One was saying, how could you ever leave this job? You're never going to make this kind of money again. What will your friends think? What will your family think? And the biggest one was, do you really think you can succeed on your own as a speaker, as a podcaster, and as a coach? And in that moment, looking back, and I could feel it in this moment, I genuinely felt like taking my life was the best thing. I wanted my problems to end, and the only way my problems ended was if my life ended. Now, luckily, I had Alan in my corner, and I texted him, and he talked me off the ledge, so to speak, and I quit my job, and I went full-time into this, and now we're doing this thing. But mental health is very, very near and dear to my heart. We're here to talk about how to fill your cup, and we want to help you guys do that.
Well done, brother. So I saw a meme earlier today. Actually, Jenna ended up posting it, and it was, on one side, you had the phone battery and how we never let our phone battery get in the red, but yet there was a picture of a human in the red. And it's like, if we never let our phones get to the red, why are we letting ourselves? So when he talks about burning the candle at both ends, right? Obviously, we have to recharge our phones in order for them to work optimally, but we also have to do that with ourselves. And I think there's four main facets to self-care. The first one's physical. We're going to talk about that today. Second one is mental, so mental health. And then there's emotional health and well-being. And then there's spiritual health and well-being. So we have a system called the PMES system, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, holistic health. So we're here to talk to you about how to fill your cup. And first, I'll give you kind of the 5 things that we have for you. The very first thing we're going to go through is self-care, what that means to us, how to do it, a couple different tips and tricks. Nutritious relationships is number 2. So our mentor, David Meltzer, says that everything, person, place, thing, or idea is either a nutritious thing or a toxic thing, and everything in between. Some are neutral as well. Okay. Then we're going to go to finding your center. How do you find your center? How do you know when you're off center? How do you get back to center? What does that even mean? All that. Then we're going to do health and fitness. This is going to be the sort of physiological side, the physical side that we talked about. I was a fitness coach for a long time. We'll go into that. And then we're going to go into number 5, and this is your intimate partner. So Kevin and I are going to focus on, again, what you do outside of work, because just like you charge your phone battery at night, and then it works throughout the day, you recharge in your real life to then go and serve in public. And so that kind of brings me to my first point about self-care. I break my day into thirds. Okay. Not everyone can do this, and I understand that. But as an entrepreneur, I do have autonomy around my schedule. So I break my day into thirds. The first third is for me. Okay. So I wake up in the morning I try to go to bed by 11, wake up at 7 a.m. And then from 7 to 10, I don't do any service. It's all filling my own cup. So I do my personal development, self-care, shower. My mornings are for me. Second third is always about service. As a matter of fact, on Calendly, if any of you were to ever want to book a free call with me, you'd notice that it only goes from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nothing past 6 p.m., nothing before 10 a.m. ever, unless it's very extenuating circumstance, certain speeches and different things, opportunities. Okay, so first third is for me. Second third is for service. Third is for fitness, for R&R, and for my intimate relationship. Okay, so Emilia and I go to the gym together, so that actually works out really well. And so I'm either at the gym with Emilia in that third, or I'm at home resting and relaxing. For me, it's inspiring movies. I love inspiring movies. So if you name a movie that's based or inspired by a true story, I've most likely seen it. Disney does really good at this. And so to me, that fills my cup. I like to eat, watch an inspiring movie, R&R, and then I rinse and repeat. The next day I wake up, first third for me, second third for service, third. And so that's kind of the system that I have rolling. And I know that not everyone has full autonomy around their schedule, but if you do, I think it's important to pour into yourself first, then go serve, then recharge. And for me, that's the order that works best.
I think creating positive non-negotiables is very important, because we all have non-negotiables. Okay, so if we don't show up to work is a non-negotiable. We have to show up to work, right? That's the way it works. But when you get home, what are your actual non-negotiables? So Alan and I are both coaches when it comes to productivity and peak performance, but also fulfillment. We want our clients to be happy. We want them to be happier and more successful, not just more successful. One of my clients said, yeah, I get to the end of the night and I feel like I've just worked too much and I haven't taken any time for myself. And I said, that's perfect. This is what we'll do. Let's literally take a bubble bath on your system, right? That you should be taking a bubble bath every single night. It's a non-negotiable. It's a non-negotiable for her. So what are your non-negotiables when it comes to self-care? And we're going to talk about this later on, but have you communicated that to the people in your life, right? Alan knows if he texts me past a certain time, I'm not going to answer. Mm-hmm. The whole team knows that. If you text me on Sunday, you're not going to get an answer because I'm spending time with family. Now, another important thing, especially for the younger generations when it comes to self-care, is understanding what self-care actually is to you. Okay. So my cell phone is over here in front of me. A lot of people will have a heavy day, a hard day, an overwhelming day, a stressful day, an anxious day. And what their natural reaction is to seek more anxiety without even knowing it. So they sit down and they start scrolling on social media mindlessly because they're trying to numb their mind. A bubble bath might seem like work, but some of the work that we're going to talk about today is actually going to be filling your cup, which is going to bring you joy and it's going to bring you sustainable energy for the next day. So that's another thing. It's very important to understand what actually fills my cup and be honest about it. If going for a hike after a long day doesn't fill your cup, then maybe save it for the weekend. Maybe you want to get back into comfort and watch a show. That's fine too. Give yourself permission to seek your own personal self-care.
I think the other really important thing to understand here is, and again, how to keep your cup filled, it's fulfillment. So after doing something, do you feel fulfilled? And if you don't check in with that often, because none of us, okay, for me, I'll just speak for myself. When I'm scrolling on social media, I never feel fulfilled after that. It's not a fulfilling experience. That's why I mentioned inspiring movies, because movies that are not inspiring, that have a lot of blood, guts, and gore, and that are like dark, like thrillers or horror movies, I never watch horror movies. Now, again, nothing against them. If that's what you want to do, maybe that fulfills you. For me, it doesn't fulfill me. So I think that a lot of times what we're doing is when we're burning the candle at both ends, we end up mindlessly doing things that are not fulfilling. and we're just filling our time with it. And I'll give you an example. So the next thing here is nutritious relationships. So everything in your life, person, place, thing, or idea, which is a noun, person, place, thing, or idea. I know we know that. It is either nutritious, it is either feeding you, or it is bleeding you. Okay. So I do something called a life map. I was on the phone with a woman named Lydia recently, and we were doing her life map. And all a life map is a very simple analogy. So imagine a circle in the center of the page, and Lydia's name's right there. And then we just go through all the things she's spending her time, energy, and money on. Okay. Where are you spending your time? We'll just start there. One of the things she was spending her time on legitimately, and she wouldn't mind me sharing this, is sitting around doing nothing. I said, okay, from 0 to 10, how much are you investing your time in sitting around and doing nothing? She said 7. I said, okay, how much is that feeding you back? How fulfilling is that for you? She said, honestly, Alan, 0. I said, okay, in my opinion, that's a toxic relationship. You're feeding it a lot of your precious time, but it's not feeding you back. Now, I'm going to give you the opposite. She also said one of the bubbles that she feeds is prayer. I said, from 0 to 10, how much time do you spend in prayer? She said 8. And when I asked her, how much does it feed you back? She went, 90. And she lit up like a Christmas tree. I said, that is a positive relationship. All of us have persons, places, things, and ideas that are bleeding us and not feeding us. And even if we have all things feeding us, some things are not as big of an ROI as others. And I'll give you an example. If you're going to invest in the stock market in Apple versus maybe Kmart, they might both feed you, but one of them is going to feed you more. One of them is a better investment. I think Apple is. Again, that's just my perspective, but we're all unique individuals, right? So an inspiring movie for me, I might feed it 3 of my time out of 10. Maybe it feeds me back in a 7. See, great use of my time. Scrolling on Instagram, I'm probably feeding it at like a 1 or a 2 right now. How much is it feeding me back? 0. Absolute. I've never once been like, I'm really glad I did that. Okay. Unless I was networking, in which case that's actually a plus for our business. But this is the thing. Do your life map. Where are you investing your time, your energy, and your money when you're outside of work? Because a lot of us, what we do is we work so hard at service, and I know many of you do. And then when we get home, we just autopilot. And I've been saying this to myself recently. I was on the phone with my girlfriend recently. I said, babe, I've been saying this new saying to me from now on, and I've been saying it lately, no more autopilot. Like, I literally will like engage my conscious mind again because I'm like, get off autopilot. Because my autopilot will just mindlessly scroll or mindlessly eat. Who here has ever ate and been like, oh my God, I just ate 3 fudgicles.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't even notice I was eating them. Honestly, like autopilot. I'm telling you, fudgicles are great. So anyways, a little bit about me, but that's my point. How do we get off autopilot and make better choices? At the end of the day, if you're going to go serve at your best, it's what you're doing in private that allows you to serve in public. Last night, I got great sleep. Not as good as I would have wanted. And then I talked to Kevin after earlier. We were on an interview at 8:30. And I said, Kev, I think I really need a nap before we serve later today. I didn't end up getting to take that nap. Had I taken that nap, I would be better at this. And so serve, yes. Okay, excellent, of course. But if you're not recharging and if you don't have the habits and the discipline on the self-care end, you're not going to be able to yin and yang. It's yin and yang. It's serve, self-care, serve, self-care, and it grows over time.
So Alan talked a lot about relationships with other things and places and ideas and things that you're doing and people. The most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. All right. So when I get overwhelmed, I know when Alan gets overwhelmed, he has his go-tos, but I can tell you with certainty that the biggest thing that has made a difference for me when it comes to stress and anxiety and being burnt out and filling my cup is figuring out who I am as a person. As I said in the beginning, I wasn't very confident. I was super insecure. Okay. Every single day I write down positive affirmations. Every single day I journal. I am working on my relationship with me because at the end of the day, when something comes along and I've worked on myself, my character, my competence level, my confidence level, the things that I know, the things that I'm learning, it's less likely to shake me because I've worked on me. I am the foundation of my life. So I would ask everybody in here, what is your practice for the relationship with yourself? Are you practicing positive self-talk? After a long day, it's really easy to beat yourself up, right? But it's way better to treat yourself in a positive manner. Are you doing journaling? Are you doing positive affirmations? Are you working on your identity? A lot of what we talk about on the podcast is deep inner work, but it's the deep inner work that has brought us the outward results that people see. And we always want to bring people behind the curtain on how we actually got them. So internal identity work is going to help with anxiety and stress and overwhelm, because you're going to become a more capable human and you'll be capable of handling more.
So far we've gone through self-care and nutritious relationships. Number 3 is finding your center. So what I have written here is actually a framework that I kind of came up with. But the key to finding your center is actually first knowing when you're off center. So right now, Kevin and I actually feel very centered.
Yeah.
I can tell that you're pretty centered as well. We're in a pretty good place. We're in flow. But if we weren't, we would need to identify that consciously and then figure out, okay, take some deep breaths. Okay, drink some water. There's actually water in this coffee. But the key to finding your center is first understanding when you're off center. And so I have this acronym that I use for myself personally, and it's called H.H.A.L.T. And it reminds me to stop, drop, and roll proverbially whenever I'm off center. Okay. H.H.A.L.L.T. Okay. Hungry, horny, angry, lonely, late, or tired. What I've personally found out is that if I'm any of those 3 at any given time, I'm in an unresourceful state. And when you're in an unresourceful state, that is when you are unintentionally unkind. That's when you don't show up as your best self. That's when you autopilot and get triggered, and maybe you raise your voice, things like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the biggest issues for our listeners that we've seen is not everybody has people in their corner trying to lift them to the next level. And even the people who are trying to help don't always know how.
That's why Kevin and I created Next Level Group Coaching. It's a 3-month program on teams of 10 with all people committed to achieving their goals. Click the link in the show notes for more information.
And we only take 10 people at a time, so make sure you get in quick.
So whenever you're hungry, horny, angry, lonely, late, or tired, that's when you got to be very careful about your choices. Okay? Willpower drains over time. So we wake up in the morning and our phone has a full battery. Okay? By the end of the night, that's when we fall off our habits. That's when we eat like crap. That's when we make poor choices. One of my old mentors had a saying, nothing good happens past 11, go to bed early. Right? And so the reason why is because we're drained. It's called decision fatigue. The scientists actually call this ego depletion. And basically what it is you make so many decisions all throughout the day that eventually you're just like, I don't even want to make another choice. No more choices. So you go on autopilot because you're out of energy. Okay, that's why power naps are so key, because if you take that power nap, it's just like putting your phone back on the charger for 20 minutes. You can get like 50% of the battery back with just 20 minutes. I actually... earlier today, I almost took a nap in my car. And then I was like, it's either that or a Panera salad, because I had another call within like 40 minutes. I chose the Panera salad and the coffee. So the coffee solved my napping issue. But here's the thing. You wake up in the morning with so much willpower. Are you using it on the things that actually are valuable to you? And when you do run out of willpower and you are in an unresourceful state with that halt, what do you do about it? Do you find your center and then take that R&R or take that rest or give it a break? Or do you kind of react and then just try to burn the candle even more?
So when it comes to finding your center, a lot of us are like rubber bands, where if you stretch too much, too quickly, you snap. So Alan and I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to go to Florida and then fly out to Arizona and go to this networking event with 3,000 people and meet mentors and all of this stuff. Unfortunately for me, I was terrified of all of those things. I do not like planes. The only thing I don't like more than planes is sharks, and nothing against sharks. They just scare me. And networking events is something I was terrified of. The uncertainty of travel, something I was terrified of. So we're a week away from doing this week-long trip, and I start having anxiety attacks for the first time in my life. I have no idea what's going on. I'm not sure why it's happening. We go to Florida, and I remember we were at this burrito place, and I love me a good burrito. And it's outside. It's probably 95 degrees in Hollywood, Florida. And I remember telling Alan and Eddie Panero, our buddy, I was like, I just can't breathe. Like my throat is super tight. And I literally had to go sit in the car with the air conditioning on. I didn't know that was anxiety. I had never had anxiety before. I didn't know what it was. Now, looking back, I can connect the fact that what happened was I went outside of my comfort zone way too much too soon. So our mentor, David Meltzer, has this framework that he created that we love teaching because it's super valuable. And I know that it affects a lot of people. So if you think of it as a bullseye, okay, on the first circle, the inner circle, you have your comfort zone. On the next circle out, you have your learning zone. And on the final circle, you have your anxiety zone. What a lot of people have dealt with through this pandemic is they went from the comfort zone of going to work every day like they're used to, and it's already hard, and you jumped right to the anxiety zone because everything's changed. We have to wear all this gear. The uncertainty is higher than ever. We don't know when it's going to end. That's what has happened to a lot of people. Now, what I would say is this. Unfortunately, most people don't catch the learning zone on the way down. They go all the way back to comfort and they miss the lessons. So I would challenge everybody to figure out where the lessons are in the stress. I know easier said than done. And I did a lot of it retroactively looking back. But understand and ask yourself that question. Where am I right now? Am I in the comfort zone? Right now, I'm in the learning zone. Right? I'm not comfortable doing this. I'm afraid I'm going to misspeak. I've already misspoken several times. I'm sure I will more times. But at one point, doing a speech in front of 27 people would have literally crushed me. It would have put me into the anxiety zone. Eventually, this will be the comfort zone. And a good rule of thumb, when you're in your comfort zone, add challenge. This is when you can handle more. When you're in your anxiety zone, add comfort. When you're overwhelmed, when you're anxious, when you don't know how you're going to do the next day, you got to take it easy. But when you feel like, this is easy, I could do this, it's time to add challenge.
The good analogy for this is the gym, right? You want the workout to be hard enough to where you get better and you improve, but not so hard that you get injured. It's like that, but mental, emotional, and spiritual, right? So if we're too much in the physical, mental, and emotional, spiritual comfort zone, we're not growing, we're not stretching, we're not going to strive, we're not going to get better. But if we're too far in the anxiety zone, the same is true, and we're going to get injured. The rubber band will snap. So you got to incrementally add weight. Like Kevin said, 27 people right now, this is his learning zone. At one point, that would have been anxiety. So just remember that. Now, this is a good segue. So far, we've got self-care. We've got nutritious relationships. We've got finding your center. And number 4 is health and fitness.
10 minutes, just FYI.
Oh, thank you, brother. Appreciate that. So I was a fitness coach for, I want to say probably like 3 years or so. I was a fitness competitor as well. And I had these, it's interesting because when I was back in college, I started lifting weights. And I tried everything. I tried every supplement and I tried protein powders and creatine, all that stuff. Eventually, over years and years and years and years of accumulating all this knowledge and wisdom in the industry, I kind of realized it's actually just 5 fundamentals. And Kevin and I, studying personal development and self-improvement, we realized it really comes down to fundamentals as well. And that's what we're bringing to you today. None of this is like earth-shattering new knowledge. This is the fundamentals that actually work, right? And so it comes down to, in health and fitness, there's 5 fundamentals. I call them the 5 fundamental pillars of natural health and fitness. Number 1, sleep. Number 2, hydration. Number 3, nutrition. Number 4, training. Number 5, mobility. Okay, so sleep. I personally recommend 8 hours a night. It's not just the amount of time you spend in bed. It's the amount of time you spend in REM. I use earplugs every night, always. I'm like dogmatic about my sleep. Very rarely do I not get a full 8 hours. I don't even set an alarm most of the time. My life is awesome. Okay, number 2, hydration. So you'll never catch me without water within arm's length. I have my other water over there. There's water in this. Okay. And I've found no exception to this rule. And again, I've had, I don't know, probably 50 fitness clients over the years. Everyone who never hit their water goal, it was because they didn't have their specific water on their person. Kevin always has a water on his person. We've got water in the corner at all times. You just always got to have your own specific, because remember, the habit loop is trigger, behavior, reward. There you go, Gene. Trigger, behavior, reward. This is the trigger, seeing this. The behavior is drinking water. The reward is being hydrated. Okay. Biggest bottleneck to not hydrating is having to go pee often. People dislike it. It's not a sexy topic. It is what it is. if you're not peeing once every hour, you're dehydrated. It is what it is. I didn't make the rules. That's my perspective. Take your body weight, multiply it by 0.6. That is how many ounces of water I believe you should be drinking per day, but you don't want to drink it all at once. So that doesn't mean you can drink 80 ounces during your workout and then spread the other 20 ounces across the rest of the day. Okay. Fluids are everything. Last thing on hydration, and then we'll move on because I know we have only a couple minutes here. You have brain cells, muscle cells, heart cells, organ cells, bone cells. You have 50 trillion cells. Every chemical reaction in the human body, for the most part, requires one simple molecule, H2O. If you're not replenishing that regularly, your mind won't work as well, your heart won't work as well, your body won't work as well, and you will not be a peak performer, and you will burn down, especially when you're over-serving at the expense of yourself. Okay, hydration's so critical. Sleep, hydration, nutrition, healthy foods, macronutrients, micronutrients, the right amount of calories for your specific body. We won't get into it. This is not a fitness training. Exercise, exercising once per day. It can be a 20-minute walk. Okay, you got to exercise once per day, something. I was on the phone with a client earlier, and we have her walking on the treadmill, watching her favorite episode, Big Bang Theory. It's a half an hour a day. She's walking on like a 3.5. It's fine. Just get it done. Okay. Exercise once per day. So critical, and absolutely critical for filling your cup. Who here has ever regretted exercise? Nobody. Oh, sorry. Hand down. You're never going to.
Just you.
Yeah, literally. You're never going to have you ever heard someone say, I really wish I exercised less? Very rarely will you ever hear that. Okay. We should just do it. It's discipline. It is what it is. Last thing, mobility, pliability, joints, tendons, ligaments. You just got to stretch and foam roll, stay mobile. This is my biggest bottleneck personally. I try to foam roll, and I have an app called ROMWOD, ROMWOD, that Kevin introduced me to and a mutual client introduced us to. It's unbelievable. It's long form stretches. So sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, and mobility. That's it. You don't need powders or anything crazy. You got to eat right, exercise, hydrate, sleep, and stay pliable and mobile. And you will be a million times better off. I feel like $1 million today because I had a huge Panera salad with avocados and all kinds of amazing vegetables. So anyways, I'm on a little bit of a health kick. That's a little bit about me.
Next week, we'll be talking about donuts.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just going to make a quick point on this because I know we're up against it a little bit, but Alan's talking about the body, exercising the body. We must also exercise the mind. I don't know that people talk enough about what learning does for you. If you want to fill your cup, you can learn. Learning is such a cup filler, especially if it's something that you care about. When I learn something new, I feel like a new human being. I've learned so much over the last 3 years. I didn't even read books 3 years ago, and I was proud of it. Genuinely, I was proud of it. But the other things is meditation and mindfulness. When you meditate and you practice mindfulness, that again is where you're working on your internal self. Take time to be quiet. Take time to find silence, to find dark. You know why we have the best thoughts in the shower? Because for most of us, that's the first time throughout the day that we haven't had an input. The radio's not on. There's nothing to look at. There's nothing to listen to. So we have all of our best thoughts, right? That's why. And another reason people can't sleep at night. First time you don't have inputs. Okay. I'm going to jump to the next one, and then Alan will hammer the last point. So the last one is your intimate partner. If you don't have an intimate partner, then your close friends and circle group. Okay. I genuinely believe that the level of your relationship is directly correlated with the level of the vulnerability in it. So if you're overwhelmed, if you're stressed out, if you're anxious, if you feel like you're getting burnt out, you have to communicate that with your people. Whether it's the person you go home to at night, whether it's the first person you text throughout the week, it's very important to communicate your truth. Now, if you have a partner and you're in an intimate relationship, Alan and I have check-ins that we do with our partners, and I'll just give you a quick little check-in you can do every night. So Taryn and I, my beautiful girlfriend, every night before we go to bed, did you feel loved? Did you feel listened to? Did you feel supported? Did you feel appreciated? Did you feel romanced? You can make those questions whatever you want. You can make those questions whatever you want. And then every Thursday, so tonight, we have a deeper check-in where we go through the love languages, which Alan's going to talk to you about, and then the basic human needs, and we figure out where we're at there. But it gives us honest, proactive opportunities for feedback. So vulnerability with the people in your life. If you're suffering, don't suffer alone. Lean on somebody else. That's why people are in your life, because they love you. They want to help.
So I have so much that I could say about this. Emilia and I started doing something called relationship talks 33 weeks ago. And now we've got married couple clients, and we've been studying relationships for a really long time. Her more than me. She's more of the leader in this arena than I am. But we came up with something called the 18 conscious love languages. Actually, Kevin's come up with a couple more additionally, one of them being vulnerability. I'm not going to go through all 18 of them, but what I will teach you is this. In my past intimate relationships, I think we were missing each other without knowing why. And I'll give you guys an example, because we have this spreadsheet. We're a little intense. We have this spreadsheet that we take our clients through. And we all have giving and receiving love languages. Okay, so physical touch, for example, is a love language. Imagine you have an intimate partner who receiving physical touch is a 10 out of 10 in terms of importance. Okay, for me, that's my big one, 10 out of 10. Not just sexual, but also hand holding, cuddling, massaging, all that kind of stuff. Any sort of physical cuddling, that kind of thing. Okay, so imagine you have a level 10 of importance for receiving physical touch, but yet your partner's level of importance for giving physical touch is a 2. That's a level 8 variance. So we have a spreadsheet that actually shows that up in red so that couples can see where they're missing each other. All I'll say here, because we got to go in a minute, is that if your intimate partner is not able to fulfill your needs and vice versa, other things are going to be more challenging. When Emilia and I are not rock solid, everything else is harder. For me, that's the center. Like, if her and I aren't a 10 out of 10 right now, I'm going to be concerned about that more than the speech, genuinely, because it's what's most important to me. So if your intimate relationship isn't incredible, here's what I'll say. Your relationship with yourself is number 1, always has to be. Next, it's your intimate partnership, has to be number 2. After that, if you have kids, it can be kids. But then after that, it's business partners. After that, it's friends, colleagues. You got to have a ripple effect outward. If I personally burn down, everyone on the NLU team suffers. Kevin suffers. Emilia suffers. Our relationship suffers. This speech suffers. So therefore, you guys suffer, right? So that's kind of the thing I'll end on here. Everything starts with you. The only way your life improves, and therefore the quality of everyone around you's life improves, is if you improve the quality of yourself. And that's really the message Kevin and I want to give to the world. That's why we're so all in on self-development. We want to be the Apple of personal development, because we realize that, like, if each of us sweeps our own porch, the whole world will be clean. And that's the message we want to really give you. So it starts with you. It's not selfish. Self-care is critical. Self-love, self-care, self-esteem, self-discipline, self-advocacy, self-integrity, right? All these words we have about ourselves, self-love. We can't give what we don't have. And so that's what I'll end on. It's all up to us. We have a choice. And if we don't fill our own cup first, we're going to play an empty game, and it's going to be unfulfilling, and it's not going to be as deeply meaningful, and we're not going to be able to serve with excellence.
One of my most loved social media posts was self-care isn't selfish. And I think a lot of us have been raised or convinced that you have to be there for everybody all the time. You have to be there for yourself first. Like Alan said, it's the most important thing. Most important.